Now we get to have some fun. Now, I know everyone's already having a lot of fun, and I don't really want to get in the way of conversations. So you might, after I'm done here, just be like, forget what he said. I'm just going to keep up with my conversation. But if you want, you're all invited to go ahead and play a little. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that and frame it for us, and maybe it'll be a fun time. So, oh, all right. I'm okay, ready? Shall we play a game? Okay, I love the Gen X response there. Very happy. Yeah, I mean, some people might be like, that's a Macintosh. Why is it look like? No, okay, I know the anachronism. It was a nice picture. It was public domain. I was able to use it. All right. So what we're going to do today, just really quick, I'm going to give you a little origin story about Law RPG and sort of how it came about. We're going to do a surprise argument, which will make sense when it comes, but it will be a little bit of a surprise. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Then we'll talk about getting a little help from our friends, in this case, some of the digital variety. And then we're going to let you play a game. And so there should be some little booklets and some dice at people's tables. You do not need to read through the whole booklet. My hope is that you'll take it with you and it will inspire you maybe to have some of these conversations and some of this gameplay in the future. But first, an origin story. So last year, I got the wonderful honor of being able to teach an AI in the law course. And I started preparing all of the case law that I wanted to have the students cover. And I kept looking at all these cases. And at first, I was like, this is simple. I know how this all is going to apply. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, none of this is going to turn out the way I think. And so what I went through in preparing for the class was realizing I had a certain thought about how the courts would apply the existing law. But there were a lot of people who were interested in relitigating things I thought had been settled several decades ago as far as things with IP and other related issues. And then, of course, we were bringing up all these novel questions around the introduction of large language models, which is what people say mean when they say AI these years. I'm old enough to remember when AI was a logistic regression. So, oh wow, this tough room. Okay, so origin story, I had to teach this class. The problem is I had cases that I thought maybe were going to be precedential, but really there were a lot of open questions of law. And so what I wanted to do was to dive into some of those questions, some of those cases, the myriad, the constellation of cases that are right now going on in regards to AI and law. So you know what I did is I went over to the Free Law Project folks, and I found their case law bot on AI, and I was like, this is a good place to start. And the Free Law folks are here, and so I just want to say that they're doing wonderful work. Yay. Yes. How many times have you refreshed a docket, like in the past 3 weeks yeah, okay, court listener, I don't know how your servers aren't melting. So I had to make this class, what I decided is I'm going to deal with cases that we don't know how they're going to end up. And so I figured, how in the world do I teach a class where I don't know about cases, where I don't know how it's going to end up? And so we all know the case law method. Some of us know the case method from business school. So I decided, let's do the RPG method. And so what I did is I turned those cases into role-playing games that we would play in our class. And so 2 students would be assigned to be the attorneys. The rest of the students would act sort of like fractional judges, and we'd argue cases, and we took them all the way from motions through trial through appeals. And it was loads of fun. There's more details on all of that in the book, but we're just going to give you the gloss. To get you there quickly, always learn by doing, okay? Clinical educator through and through. So what I need are some volunteers. Okay, well, we have one. I like how you volunteered before I told you what you were volunteering for. The volunteers must be willing to make an argument constrained to like 30 seconds on a wild topic that I'm just going to throw out at you. You still game? Okay. And Linda's going to be the other volunteer? I love it. Okay. So, and I'm sorry, Maria. Okay, so Maria and Linda, they're going to be our attorneys. And Maria, and this is also where I'm realizing I have a Mac and I moved this over to a PC, and so my icons are going to look crap, but here we go. Maria, 30 seconds for everyone, and we have a mic for you.
Right here. Oh, thank you
30 seconds for everyone on why a hot dog is in fact a taco.
It's on right now.
How many seconds?
You
30
just
seconds,
keep it
okay.
short.
As a Mexican person, I can tell you that a hot dog is a taco. Not only is it surrounded by the grain it contains, it also has the condiments and traditionally, well, not really traditionally, and the meat. But indigenous people used to not eat meat because we didn't have cows and stuff until whatever. And the feelings, yes, the feelings of feeling like your grandma's hugging you while you eat it, and also the feelings that you put inside the grain that's supporting your food, and then you also eat it with your hand. Very practical nowadays, where everybody just does drive-throughs and can't get out of their cars. Is that it?
Okay, that's good. That's good. All right. Hot dog is a taco. Now, Linda, hot dog, not a taco.
A hot dog is meat inside a casing, which is inside a bun. On the other hand, a taco can have many different kinds of fillings. It can have meat, it can have non-meat, it can have mushrooms, it can have all kinds of things. Generally, a hot dog can be on its own. It can stand on its own without the bun, without the grain encasement. But a taco can't, because that would just be a mess. Let's see. The flavors of hot dogs versus tacos may indeed overlap. But who's ever heard of putting mustard or sauerkraut on a taco? I rest.
All right. Those were our two attorneys. Okay. Now, all of you get to be part of a judge. So you're all a fractional judge. So I would like all of those who think Linda's argument, our last argument, was in fact the one that should rule the day. Everyone who thinks hot dog not a taco, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I'm going to do some math here. Okay, Maria, do you have a dice at your table? All right. You're going to roll that dice. Don't roll it yet. If your dice roll is 5 or more, you win. Your argument will rule the day. Roll.
Justicey.
Yeah.
8.
8. Hot dog. So what I could do here is I could do this in several different ways. You have all just walked in. We're in the courtroom, and Maria and Linda make their arguments, and we wait, and the judge rules. I will rule. I have in this case, where the judge is being the finder of fact, and I have determined that a hot dog is a taco for our conversation today. And so what you've just experienced is the gameplay that goes along with turning case law into a role-playing game. And so what we're doing basically is in a role-playing game, it's collaborative storytelling. And so it's more than that, though, especially in a classroom environment, it's collaborative sense-making. And so what we do is it provides us a scaffolding upon which we can motivate people to learn the law, to come in, and then to apply it. And then for everyone to participate, as the judges, we had to sort of get you on board. But there was also, as you recognized, sort of a random element to it, which is something that any of us who have practiced know very well, that you can make the best argument you think possible, but that might not be the way it goes. So what a good role-playing game tries to do is to make the easy things easy, the hard things hard, and to be fair, it doesn't leave it up to one person to decide what the outcome is going to be. And so on the back of those sheets of paper, and so yes, that was our question. You have these little books, and on the backs of those books are a little QR code. That QR code will bring you to a little app, a little web app, and it will allow you to choose whether or not you're an attorney, whether or not you're a fractional judge, so one of these sort of fact finders, or whether or not you're the judge, the person who's making determinations. Now, I have students here who have volunteered to sort of fan out and help be judges, although I'm not going to preclude anyone who wants to be a judge from being a judge, but you got to come to conclusions on your own. There's my red swing line stapler. Fun fact, did not exist as a product until after Office Space. Who knew? That was, But I also, yes, I know that in my case sheet, I have duty, breach, harm. I messed up and I didn't realize causation should be in there until like 75 books into folding, which the students did help me with folding, and I'm very, very thankful for that. So I know there's that typo. So what you're going to do is if you scan that QR code, you'll get a little helper here. And this helper will help do that math that I just did on my calculator. So it'll ask the judge rather, how many folks are there at the table? And then it'll step you through doing an argument. Now, what's interesting is, of course, time. This is always where the time can get sucked up. Well, what is our case? What are we going to argue? Are we going to argue tacos? No. We're going to argue age-appropriate design. So net choice, one of the many net choice cases. So if you actually click on this, familiarize yourself with our case, what you'll see is this is what I gave my students when we were preparing. Basically a breakdown of, you can see there are a couple of documents. So basically I made sort of a custom AI that is basically taking and summarizing some of these documents that I pulled from Court Listener. Thank you again, free law folks. In fact, actually, there's a link there. If you click on the docket link, it will take you to the Court Listener link. And that was one of my criteria for the cases I choose. They had to have an online docket. You can also find text of the bill. But you know what? That's going to take forever to read. That's 150 pages. If you were my student, you're going to have to read them. But we can sort of like fudge it a little now. If you click on that distill in question, you can interrogate those documents, ask some questions, try to figure out what's going on. Looking at time, I don't think we'll get very long in your arguments, but I want you to, if you want to, jump into this, play a little, let's see what we get. One of the fun things about simulating, I won't tell you where this case is now. You're asked to do the preliminary injunction on this case. So you've got to argue a couple things that is explained in your helper. So if you go and you say to the attorney, it's going to tell you a little bit about preliminary injunction, what you have to argue. Again, this is not all going to fit into this time. If you want to ignore me after this and be like, well, that was fun. My feelings might be a little hurt, but you don't have to tell me. So, but I hope that you'll engage with folks. So the idea is this. You now go to get the more case information. You click on that link. It's going to give you a summary. Then you can ask it questions. This is a chat bot. You can say, well, what's the best argument for whatever side I am? So first, you're going to want to figure out what side you are. Find some volunteers in your table as to who the judges get instructed on it. It's like, do you have two attorneys? It's like, yes, okay, great. No, have them roll dice. So choose an attorney, choose sides. Everyone can read up on this because the judges should know something too. Spend 10 minutes or so thinking about it. Then start arguing. I mean, what is a meal without? What makes a great meal, except for arguing with people, right? So Thanksgiving, all sorts of options. So go ahead, let's play. No punches. No one can throw any punches.